He was just 17, walking home from a convenience store when a police officer stopped him for looking suspicious. Handcuffs clicked, accusations flew, and the teen's life nearly derailed. The officer, smug and unyielding, thought he'd closed the case. But 5 years later, that same teen stood in a courtroom, law degree in hand, defending the very officer who'd wronged him. How did a kid labeled a troublemaker turn the tables to become the one holding the gavel's power? Where are you reading this from? Los Angeles, London, Chicago, or somewhere else? Drop your city in the comments and let's see how far this story spreads. Now, let's get into what happened. His name was Jamal Carter, a 17-year-old high school senior in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was October 2020, and Jamal lived in a working-class neighborhood where police patrols were a constant presence. He was a lanky kid with a quick smile, a student who dreamed of becoming a lawyer. His mom, Tanya, worked double shifts as a nurse, and his dad wasn't in the picture. Jamal spent his evenings studying or helping at the community center, mentoring younger kids. He was the kind of teen who carried himself with purpose, but in his neighborhood, that didn't always matter. On a chilly Friday evening, Jamal was walking home from a corner store, a bag of chips in one hand, his phone in the other. He wore a hoodie and jeans, nothing out of the ordinary. The street was quiet, street lights flickering. He was 2 blocks from home when a police cruiser pulled up beside him. Officer Daniel Brennan, a 15-year veteran of the Philadelphia Police Department, stepped out. Brennan was in his late 30s, broad-shouldered, with a reputation for being tough on troublemakers. To him, Jamal was just another kid who fit the profile. "Hey, you," Brennan called out, his voice sharp. "Stop right there." Jamal froze, confused. "Me? What's wrong?" Brennan approached, flashlight in hand, shining it in Jamal's face. "What are you doing out here?" "Going home," Jamal said, holding up the bag of chips. "Just got this from the store." Brennan's eyes narrowed. "You look suspicious. Got any ID?" Jamal frowned but reached for his wallet. "I'm just walking home, man. I live right there." He pointed down the street. "Don't get smart." Brennan snapped, "Hands where I can see them." Jamal's heart pounded, but he complied. Brennan patted him down, finding nothing but the chips and a student ID. Still, the officer wasn't satisfied. "You're in a high-crime area. Kids like you are always up to something." "Kids like me?" Jamal's voice rose, frustration creeping in. "I'm a student. I'm not doing anything wrong." Brennan smirked. "That's what they all say." He radioed for backup, and within minutes, Jamal was in handcuffs, sitting in the back of the cruiser. The charge: loitering with intent to commit a crime. A vague accusation with no evidence. At the station, Brennan booked him, ignoring Jamal's protests. "You'll learn to respect authority," Brennan said as he filled out the paperwork. Jamal spent the night in a holding cell, humiliated and angry. His mom bailed him out the next morning, her face a mix of fear and fury. The charges were eventually dropped for lack of evidence, but the arrest stayed on Jamal's record, a stain that could haunt his college applications. As he left the station, he locked eyes with Brennan, who stood by the desk, arms crossed. "Stay out of trouble, kid," Brennan said, his tone dripping with condescension. Jamal didn't respond, but the fire in his chest burned. He wasn't going to let this define him. Main conflict/suspense, the arrest lit a spark in Jamal. He'd always wanted to be a lawyer, but now it was personal. He wanted to fight for kids like him, kids who got judged before they got a chance. His mom supported him, but she worried. "You can't change the system overnight," she told him. "Focus on school." Jamal did. He graduated high school with honors, earning a scholarship to Temple University's pre-law program. The arrest record made applying tougher, but he wrote a personal essay about the experience, turning his pain into purpose. Admissions officers were impressed, and he got in. Still, the memory of Brennan's smirk stayed with him, fueling late-night study sessions and mock trial competitions. Meanwhile, Officer Brennan continued his patrols, racking up commendations and complaints in equal measure. He was known for aggressive stops, especially in neighborhoods like Jamal's. To Brennan, it was just the job. Keeping the streets safe meant making tough calls. He didn't think twice about Jamal after that night. To him, it was just another arrest. But Jamal never forgot. In his sophomore year at Temple, he started volunteering at a legal aid clinic, helping low-income residents expunge records and fight minor charges. He saw how the system chewed up people who couldn't afford good lawyers. Every case reminded him of that night in the cruiser, Brennan's voice echoing in his head. By 2023, Jamal was in his final year of college, applying to law schools. He'd aced the LSAT, scoring in the top 5%. His professors saw potential, but Jamal kept his plans quiet. He wasn't just aiming for a degree. He wanted to make a statement. He wanted to face men like Brennan in court, not as a defendant, but as the one calling the shots. Then, in early 2025, something unexpected happened. Jamal was interning at a public defender's office when a new case landed on his desk. Officer Daniel Brennan had been arrested. The charge, excessive force during a traffic stop. A man had been injured, and dashcam footage showed Brennan slamming him against the car without clear provocation. The story was all over local newsfil. Adelphia PD was under fire, and Brennan was suspended pending trial. If convicted, he faced up to 7 years in prison. Jamal stared at the file, his pulse racing. The officer who'd humiliated him was now the one in trouble. The public defender's office was short-staffed, and Jamal, though still a law student, was asked to assist on the case. He could have said no. He could have let someone else handle it. But something in him, anger, justice, or maybe both, made him say yes. Jamal spent weeks preparing, working under a senior attorney named Lisa Nguyen. The case was high profile, with protests outside the courthouse and media camped out. Brennan's union hired a private lawyer, but the public defender's office was tasked with providing secondary counsel due to conflicts of interest. Jamal's role was to review evidence, draft motions, and interview witnesses. He threw himself into it, staying up until 3 a.m., reading case law and watching the dashcam footage on loop. The footage was damning. Brennan's voice was loud, aggressive, as he yelled at the driver, a 40-year-old mechanic named Marcus Reed. The stop was for a broken taillight, but within minutes, Brennan had Marcus pinned to the car, his arm twisted. Marcus's cries of pain were clear on the audio. Jamal felt a mix of vindication and unease. He hated Brennan, but as a future lawyer, he knew everyone deserved a defense. Could he do it? Could he defend the man who'd wronged him? The first meeting with Brennan was tense. It was March 2025, and Jamal walked into the interview room at the county jail. Brennan sat across from him, his police uniform replaced by a gray jumpsuit. He looked older, his face lined with stress. He didn't recognize Jamal at first. "I'm Jamal Carter, assisting with your defense," Jamal said, keeping his voice even. Brennan squinted. "Carter, don't know you. What's your experience?" Jamal's jaw tightened. "I'm a law student, top of my class at Temple. I've been working with the public defender's office for a year." Brennan snorted. "A student. They send me a kid to keep me out of prison." The word stung, but Jamal leaned forward, his voice low and steady. "You want to talk about kids? 5 years ago, you arrested one for walking home with a bag of chips. Called him suspicious. That kid's me." Brennan's face froze. He stared at Jamal, recognition dawning. "You, that kid from the corner store?" "Yeah," Jamal said, his eyes locked on Brennan's. "And now I'm the one helping you, so maybe listen for once." The room crackled with tension. Brennan shifted in his seat, his bravado fading. "I was doing my job," he muttered. "You were in a bad area." "Your job?" Jamal's voice rose, sharp and controlled. "You put me in cuffs for nothing. No evidence, no crime. You think that's your job?" Brennan's face reddened. "You don't know what it's like out there. I make split-second calls. Sometimes I'm wrong." "Wrong?" Jamal shot back. "You didn't just make a mistake. You humiliated me. You made me feel like nothing. And now you're sitting here needing my help." Lisa, the senior attorney, stepped in, sensing the heat enough. "We're here to build a defense, not settle old scores." Jamal took a breath, nodding, but the fire in his chest didn't fade. Over the next month, he worked tirelessly on Brennan's case. He found inconsistencies in the prosecution's timeline, interviewed Marcus's coworkers to establish his character, and dug into Brennan's record. The officer had a history of complaints, 5 in the last 3 years, all for excessive force, though none had stuck. Jamal also found a witness, a bystander who'd recorded part of the stop on her phone. Her footage showed Marcus reaching for his license, not resisting, before Brennan escalated. Jamal wrestled with his conscience. Part of him wanted Brennan to pay not just for what he'd done to him, but for Marcus and others. But another part, the part that believed in the law, knew Brennan deserved a fair shot. Jamal poured his energy into the case, not for Brennan, but for the principal. As the trial date neared, Jamal and Lisa crafted a defense. Brennan had acted under stress, believing Marcus was reaching for a weapon. It wasn't perfect, but it could create reasonable doubt. Jamal prepped Brennan for the stand, coaching him to stay calm and honest. Brennan, still defensive, grumbled through rehearsals. "I don't need a kid telling me how to talk," he said once, prompting another heated exchange. "Then act like it." Jamal snapped. "You're facing 7 years. You want to win this. Stop fighting me." Brennan glared but backed down. For the first time, he seemed to realize Jamal wasn't just a kid anymore. The trial began in June 2025 in a packed Philadelphia courtroom. Jamal sat at the defense table, his suit crisp, his notes organized. Brennan, in a borrowed blazer, looked smaller than the man who'd cuffed him years ago. The prosecution painted Brennan as a reckless cop with a history of violence. Jamal and Lisa countered with the bystander's video, showing Marcus's ambiguous movement and expert testimony on police stress. On the third day, Jamal cross-examined a prosecution witness, a rookie officer who'd been with Brennan. The rookie claimed Brennan had a pattern of aggression. Jamal, calm but relentless, poked holes in his story. "You testified you saw Officer Brennan escalate first," Jamal said, "but your report says you were checking your radio at the time. Which is it?" The rookie stammered, credibility shaken. The courtroom buzzed. Even Brennan looked impressed, though he didn't say it. When Brennan took the stand, Jamal's coaching paid off. He admitted his mistake, his voice low. "I thought he was reaching for something. I was wrong." The jury listened closely. The verdict came after 2 days of deliberation. Not guilty on excessive force, guilty on a lesser charge of misconduct. Brennan got probation, no prison time. As the gavel fell, he turned to Jamal, his face unreadable. "Didn't expect you to pull this off," he said. Jamal met his gaze. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for the system. You owe Marcus an apology, not me." Brennan said nothing, but he nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Jamal walked out of the courtroom, his head high. He graduated law school the next month and joined a firm specializing in civil rights cases. His first case, representing Marcus Reed in a lawsuit against the Philadelphia PD. This story isn't just about Jamal, it's about turning pain into power. Where are you reading this from? New York, Manchester, Atlanta, or somewhere else? Share your city in the comments and tell us, have you ever turned a wrong into a win? Let's keep this story alive.